Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for pitching up on time for this launch of the YouTube channel, namely the People's Lawctivist. This channel is informed in many ways by a journey that I have been through, which is the journey of activism and law. We are seeing within the generality of humanity a movement, which movement is informed by the necessity for people who are fighting for human rights, particularly for people who have taken a decision that enough is enough. There has to come a time where people come together and decide that their future is in their hands, and they will determine that future in a direction that speaks to them. This YouTube channel will, amongst other things, be a platform by which activists can come together, by which lawyers can come together and work towards a common ideal, whereby this common ideal is advancing the principles of Lawctivism. Maybe before we go very far, for those who may not be familiar with who I am and the work that I have been doing, I will introduce myself by saying my name is Sabelo Sibanda, uvodloza umshado ongathulwa thambo, uMaqhoba, ubhodla amadoda thithibale. Those are my praise names for those who do not know what that speaks to. So, as Usabelo, I am an advocate. My core primary focus areas, law, criminal defense and human rights law. I am a lawyer and also an activist. And I started describing myself as a Lawctivist because for me, the two, law and activism, have to operate together. So Lawctivism, what exactly is Lawctivism, you may ask? Lawctivism is a tool by which to advance an activist cause for the benefit of the people, in advancing the human rights of the people, in advancing societal change, in ensuring that the law finds expression to the extent that the law actually prevails over the legal system. It is necessary within the context of Lawctivism to appreciate the fact that it is a combination of law and activism. This is nothing new in many, many ways. I cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, try to influence anyone or make anyone believe that what we are dealing with or what we are confronted with
Somebody went to sausage this morning.
or what we are talking to, in as far as Lawctivism is concerned, is anything new, because there's been law in the past and there's been activism in the past. There's been this combination of people who have actually used the law for activist causes. For example, you look at the civil rights movement in the United States, where you had the activists and the lawyers working together and therefore influenced the changes in the law. Look at 1990 in Kenya, the Sabasaba, where Sabasaba basically means 7-7. And that 7-7 on Sabasaba stands for 7 July. So as we speak right now, as we launch on the 7th of July 2025, it coincides with the uprisings in Kenya, where the Kenyan people were fighting for democracy, where the Kenyan people reached a point where they said that they are sick and tired of Daniel Arap Moi being the president and basically portraying himself as the life president. But then, when they went out to strike, when they went out and protested against the government, then the lawyers came together with the people and started shaping a law that was basically informed by advancing the constitutional rights, the democratic rights of the people of Kenya. So what I'm basically saying is that regardless of the fact that I coined the term Lawctivist and coined the term Lawctivism, the whole aspect of combining law and activism is nothing new. It's been there already in the past. But then what we are saying now is that the reality that we are confronted with is such that we cannot sit in silos. We cannot have activists on their own and lawyers on their own and have the lawyers waiting for the activists to come to their chambers simply because there is now a case that needs to be taken up before the court. And we as the lawyers have an obligation to ensure that we practice the law and not be subjected to the prescripts of the legal system. I'll break it out this way. When we look at the law basically has been from time immemorial. Whether you look at it from the perspective of nature, nature has its own laws. When humanity gets into that space, humanity is also guided by those same laws. We have spiritual laws. We have laws that govern how communities worked and lived amongst each other and with each other. And then now we are saying that those laws that guaranteed our humaneness, those laws that guaranteed the nature of who we are as people are the laws that we should be advancing today, are the laws that we are fighting for today. When we are talking about human rights, we are talking about the right of every human to be able to exercise their sovereignty as a human being. We are talking about the ability of every human to be in a position whereby sovereignty is not the manner in which politics has now taken it over, and now they talk about politics from a grand level, where the grand level is mainly speaking to the so-called national sovereignty. What about the sovereignty of the individual? Lawctivism puts at the forefront of everything the sovereignty of the individual, guided by the principles and values of Ubuntu. Where central to the Lawctivist cause is Ubuntu. Without Ubuntu, Lawctivism is devoid of any relevance and significance to the communities that we serve, to the communities that we are protecting and therefore going forward with. So now, having laid that foundation as regards what Lawctivism is about, it is necessary to therefore give context to Lawctivism regarding where we are now and where we are going to. More particularly, Lawctivism as a movement. Before I go into that, let me just give a broad outline of where we are in as far as the Lawctivism cause is concerned. What we have done with Lawctivism is that we have what we call the International Institute of Lawctivism. We also have what we call the International Alliance of Lawctivists. These two entities, in as much as they serve the same cause, The International Alliance of Lawctivists is actually bringing together Lawctivists internationally. Our primary area of operation right now is Africa. We want to ensure that within the reality and the context of the African continent, we secure the ability for Africa to be able to stand strong on its own principles and values without being spoken to and told to abide by ideologies and theories that do not necessarily match who we are as African people. Because the reality of the fact is that for as long as within Africa we have lawyers who are passive and only see themselves as interpreters and appliers of law, which law is informed by the legal system, which does injustice to the people, then we've lost the relevance of our purpose and our call as lawyers. We have lost the importance of our significance within the communities that we come from. As lawyers, we have a responsibility to protect those who lack protection because of the legal system playing its role in as far as protecting the interests of the political elites who do not care about the people. So now, the Alliance of Lawctivists brings lawyers together with the activists. We are looking at tapping into the expertise of the lawyer as much as we are looking at tapping into the expertise of the Lawctivist. There are some like myself who are both lawyers and activists, and we sail very comfortably within those two spaces. But then there are some who fit into one particular space. And what we are saying is, let's consolidate ourselves as Lawctivists. As long as you have something within you that is crying out for change, something out that within you that is crying out for the advancement of the interests of the people, you qualify to be a Lawctivist. You qualify to be part of this movement. So now, as we structure ourselves within the International Alliance of Lawctivists, the idea is to set up national chapters literally across the world where we will be represented as Lawctivists and be able to support each other, and we work together in a manner that will ensure that we make an impact and make it known that the people will not continue anymore to have their voices shut out. We are not here as the voice of the voiceless. There is no one who is voiceless. Everyone has a voice, but the manner in which the system has structured itself, it has denied some people their voice. It has ensured that some people don't get to be heard. And then you have people elevating themselves and calling themselves the voice of the voiceless. No one is voiceless. The most important thing is that within the context of Lawctivism, what we are saying is let's open up that space and let the voices that have been shut out begin to have a say in formulating their reality, their future, and the laws that speak to those realities. Together with the creation of national chapters pertaining to the Alliance of Lawctivists is ensuring as well that we've got students in the different universities or institutions, tertiary institutions, let me call it that. I find it difficult at times, especially looking at it from the perspective of Lawctivism, to speak to these institutions of higher learning, because what we have seen is that in actual fact, they are institutions of higher indoctrination. But now what we are pushing as Lawctivists is to say these institutions must actually give the people an education that is relevant and that will ensure that they become relevant to their own communities. If you go to school for however many years, you learn whatever you learn, if that which you believe you have learned is not applicable within the context of your own community, but is applicable towards someone else's community, someone else's reality, or taking you away from the identity of who you are. That in itself is not education, it's miseducation and diseducation. And those are some of the things that the Alliance of Lawctivists, together with the Institute, will be working on. So now, within the context of the Institute of Lawctivism, for those people who have a desire to join the movement, for those people who see themselves as relevant to this particular cause, however which way you see your relevance, you are very welcome to come on board. But I will additionally say, for those people who see themselves as being active on the ground, where being active on the ground entails being active in the community or active within the context of the law courts or within the context of advising so that we can move forward for the advancement of the interests, firstly, like I say, of Africa, because we are based in Africa and we need to protect this continent, but also for the generality of humanity. Because as we secure Africa, we secure humanity. That is how we see it. For those who want to participate actively, there is what I have created basically, which is called Lawctivism 101. Lawctivism 101 is the entry course into Lawctivism. Because one of the things that we are very clear about is that some people get excited. There is this movement and they jump, and that movement and they jump. That they just jump at any movement that seems to be of interest or some movement that will give them a semblance of doing something. But within the context of Lawctivism, we are very clear that to be a meaningful player or actor in Lawctivism, you have to have a knowledge of what Lawctivism is about. Hence the necessity to go through the course. It's a 6-week course. We've already done it with some people in South Africa, in Zambia, and the DRC. And we've got some people waiting in Uganda who are ready to start on the course, but we'll probably hold it a bit so that as we grow, we do the course with many more people because it is an online course and everyone is very welcome to sign up for the course where we learn more about Lawctivism and where Lawctivism takes us to going forward. This is where the link with the Institute of Lawctivism and the Alliance of Lawctivists comes in. The course part of the exercise, the educational part of the exercise, is housed under the International Institute of Lawctivism because our dream, our vision is to actually have an institute that will be teaching Lawctivism. We are already in discussion with some academics to see how they can help us to develop it enough to the point where it can be a short course in universities. Because what we have the introduction, which is Lawctivism 101. We have advanced intermediate Lawctivism after the intro, and then the advanced Lawctivism. So we're still mapping out how exactly this will shape itself as we go forward. That will be under the Institute. The Alliance is basically boots on the ground. The Institute is the theoretical part of where we are taking this going forward. So now, one of the critical aspects I would like everyone to basically appreciate and relate to as we go forward. This channel, the People's Lawctivist, is not simply about talking. It's not simply about, wow, that is an interesting channel. This is for people who are interested in their future. This is for people who are interested in humanity. This is for people who have realized the necessity to stand up and be counted where it really matters. As we speak right now, there are issues that are facing humanity, whereby we as Lawctivists have already started making some element of headway in how we deal with this. Let me start with the international health regulations. For those who may not be aware, 2 or 3 years ago, the United States introduced amendments to the international health regulations, which amendments are pretty draconian to a point where they threaten the sovereignty of nations. And the World Health Organization is basically being given a blank check. They can declare a pandemic, so-called, in any country and decide whether to lock down, decide whether to introduce medications and whatever medications they desire and vaccinate the nations or do whatever. And now, on the 19th of July, which is literally 12 days from now, that thing will be coming into effect, which basically puts us in a difficult position. Because once it is effected, it means the different nations are bound by this thing. And where do we stand as Africa? Africa, when the proposals from the United States were put out for the first time in 2023, we all celebrated because the Africa group took a stand and said, no, we will not accept this. We are not supporting the amendments. We were elated to think, wow, Africa has come age. It can actually stand its ground and refuse to be dominated. Surprise, shock, and horror. I tried to end what the Africa proposing. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Literally what it was. Imagine a scenario where you are driving with someone and you're saying to them in a 60 zone, you are driving too fast and they are driving at 100. You are complaining, no, 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 you're driving too fast. And I say, okay, I'll stop, you can take over. And you drive. And you drive at 200. So basically what I'm saying, what we were celebrating as African bravery was premature because Africa was basically saying what the United States had proposed was not as draconian as what Africa wanted. And as we speak right now, our so-called representative, our misleaders, are supporting this position. So from the perspective of Lawctivism, we have come up with an urgent petition that we'll be sticking the link to in our YouTube channel so that the African people can send this out as soon as possible to as many different parliamentarians as we can. Thankfully, through the African Bar Association, we have access to at least 27 different countries in as far as members of parliament are concerned. So we are able to tap into them literally at the press of a button. But we will see what they will do because we raised this in Uganda 2 months ago and little seems to have happened, but we will still be pressing on. We've raised it with the African Union, nothing seems to be happening. We have also sought audience with the African CDC but nothing yet is happening. And the African CDC, I'll have you know, does not protect our interests as African people. It does not speak to the health of the people of Africa. It waits to be told by the American CDC as to what they should do, and they go and ape that. They just go and mimic whatever is happening out there and run with it, whether it is in the best interest of African people or not. So that is one cause that urgently needs a response that we stand up and do something about. The other cause that we need to be looking out for in a very, very serious manner is the so-called global pandemic preparedness agreement. When they started off this process, they called it a treaty. And a lot of us made our submissions to the United Nations, how much we were against it, and how much, rather, to the World Health Organization, and how much it was against the sovereignty of the people, and how much it was against the interests of humanity, to a point where Tedros basically made a public statement and said there are activists who are causing havoc and they don't want the world to advance in as far as health is concerned, which is not true, because that is not what we are saying. Far from it. What we are saying is, yes, let's advance the health of the people, but we do not advance the health of the people by promoting the interests of pharmaceutical industries. And we do not advance the interests of the people by sidelining our traditional healing systems and sidelining the naturopaths who have kept Africa alive.
Thank you very much.
We cannot sideline these people and then push an agenda that is informed by enriching these pharmaceutical companies. We cannot allow a situation where we have profit over people.
Thank you.
When you look at it, if you can take your memory back to 2020, when they first announced that there is this thing called COVID. Amongst the projections was that within the first 6 months, Africa will have no less than 300,000 deaths. And I remember a tender being put out in South Africa for 1 million graves because people were expected to die left, right, and center. But right through the entire so-called COVID period, not even half of the projected number of deaths were recorded from the African continent. And in as far as the so-called vaccine, which they are still promoting to this day, the issue that basically played itself out was that Africa was the least jabbed of all the continents. Yet Africa still maintained a position as the healthiest continent. So what it means, therefore, is that if we are sincere, if we are honest to ourselves about health, we need to stand up and challenge a scenario being presented by the World Health Organization, whether you look at the international health regulations or you look at the draft, well, the finalized document in as far as the pandemic agreement is concerned, but finalized in inverted commas, because that so-called agreement, the operative part of the agreement, which is the identification of pathogens and benefiting from the pathogens, will only start to be negotiated as from this month when they set up a team to do that. It's like us entering into an agreement and you say, okay, I'm buying a car. You've got 20 cars. I'm buying a car. Yes, I'm selling a car. We sign off and we say we are happy now. We have an agreement. We have not identified the car we're talking about. We've not identified how much that car is going to be. We've not spoken to the terms, but they say they have an agreement. So it's necessary for us to stand and challenge the World Health Organization, challenge these governments, challenge the African CDC, challenge the African Union, and say, no, we will not be dictated to. We will not have naturopaths and traditional healers being sidelined, and we have these allopathic medications. We have to stand strong on that particular aspect. So the other cause that we are looking at,
The chickens.
as we speak right now, thank you for saying chickens. You actually jumped straight into my mind. We have a situation here in South Africa whereby the Minister of Health, just out of nowhere, makes an announcement that chickens in South Africa must be vaccinated. Against what? There is nothing that calls for the so-called vaccination of chickens. We have not been told that there is a so-called avian flu that is going around, which in itself is actually very subjective because we are told by those who are experts in that particular field that it is not possible for a bird to catch a flu because the respiratory system of a bird is unlike the respiratory system of a human being. And this cross transmission that they're telling us about, we don't know anything about it. So that is another cause that needs people to rise up and be able to deal with it. More particularly that with COVID, we saw the introduction of the mRNA jab. And they are now jabbing the chickens with mRNA. So if you manage to escape it by not taking it under the guise of COVID, they want you to now take it by way of the chickens that you will eat. They're actually pushing out an agenda to do so with the cattle, with the sheep, with the pigs, with the wild animals. Let's just jab everything. There is this jab agenda, there is this vaccination agenda that is going on, which is being supported by African countries, which is being supported by the African Union, being supported by the African CDC, and some countries around the world. And it is imperative that we take a position. It is imperative that we make it known that our sovereignty is not up for grabs. It's not up to those within the realm of politics to determine our future for us. We have a responsibility to ourselves. How can they honestly call themselves public servants whilst those servants are now telling their bosses what to do and what not to do? You vote them in today, next thing they've got military henchmen all over them, protecting them to ensure that they push an agenda foreign to the people that have voted them in. And the vote itself is a farce. The vote itself is an illegitimate way of getting people to represent you. So, from the perspective of Lawctivism, that is a burning issue right now. This is an immediate thing because when you look at South Africa, the price of chicken is probably the cheapest that you can get that people have ready access to. And what I found amazing last week on the World Council for Health, on the Law and Activism Committee, I did mention the issue pertaining to the chickens. And some gentleman from the United States says, oh my goodness, I didn't realize South Africa is also going down that route because in Holland, it's already an issue. The people in Holland are actually fighting The farmers are trying to protect their chickens and protect the right to their sovereignty. As long as we allow our food to be contaminated, as long as we allow these GMOs to be rampant across every food stream that we have, necessarily what we are saying is that our health sovereignty is not worth it, and we are not prepared to stand for what we believe in. Lawctivism is calling out to those who believe in the freedom of humanity, those who believe in the sovereignty of humanity, to come up and say, yes, I am responding to the call. Yes, I am part of this movement and I am ready to run with this particular cause. So you find that there is so much that is going on that we need to be responding to. And I would like to also say that the issue pertaining to the chickens is not something for tomorrow, it's not for next week. This is an immediate situation because a company by the name of Astral has already been designated and given the authority to start jabbing chickens all over. They have the mandate. I don't know how they got it because this was never discussed. This was never spoken to in any shape or form for the people of South Africa to also take a decision. So we need to be cognizant of the fact that if we don't take a stand, if we do not play our role as a people, we are always going to be sidelined. So, our other aspect that we are dealing with, I'm not sure how many of us on the call are aware of the process that went by recently in as far as the Constitutional Review Committee of Parliament calling for people to make submissions for the change in the Constitution. One of the things that we submitted as the International Alliance of Lawctivists was to address the issues pertaining to public participation. I'll just summarize the issues, where we basically say public participation should entail a scenario where when there is communication of legislation that has to be adopted or amended or repealed or whatever, the people must have a say. Government must have an obligation to come to us because those laws affect us. It's so sad, as a criminal defense lawyer especially, where you're standing there in court, you've got your client in the box. Your client cannot speak English because most of the legislation that gets to be dealt with is communicated in English. And then you get an interpreter to come and interpret for this individual. And then you realize, oh my goodness, when this law was being passed, it was in English. So this person had no clue what was going on. This person could not even relate to what the parliamentarians are on about. The first time that he gets to know the law in his or her language is when they are now being criminalized for having broken a law they did not even know existed. And then they tell us about the maxim lack of knowledge of the law is no defense. But then they create a scenario where you do not know the law and tell you cannot defend yourself against a system that we've created. This is why we juxtapose the difference between the law and the legal system. The legal system is designed in such a manner that it keeps the people uninformed and therefore criminalized all the time. And we are also saying that people must be able to call a referendum. We cannot have a situation where if we are unhappy with what the president is doing, he is the only one who can call a referendum. And we cannot call a referendum. We cannot even have a vote of no confidence in any of these people. And that is what we have presented to the committee, we are hoping that we will be given an opportunity to have an oral presentation of what we have presented. We must have a say even in the choice of ministers, and we must have direct elections in as far as presidents are concerned. We can't have a political party simply because they have positioned themselves strategically or have been sponsored strategically or have managed to rig the elections effectively, therefore choosing one of their cronies to be called president. We have to have a say in what is going on. We need to have a say in the direction in which we are going in. And now, I'd like to also share a message which I got this morning and say to those who are interested in attending this, I think it's very, very important and it's in line. And we as the Lawctivists will be part of this session where it says you are warmly invited to attend an upcoming online session on Friday, 11 July, 2 to 4 p.m. GMT as part of the planning process for the African Agroecology, Ethnobotany, and Nutritional Science Initiative. The initiative seeks to strengthen university-level training and collaboration across agroecology, ethnobotany, and nutritional science in Africa. One of the reasons why I believe this is important is because gives us an opportunity as Lawctivists to be able to speak to what takes us forward as a people, to be able to speak to whether what is being taught in university in as far as these particular spaces is the real McCoy or not. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and absolute honor to be able to present to you about where Lawctivism stands. And 2 weeks ago, I attended a session on apitherapy. My first time to hear about apitherapy and actually to go and learn about apitherapy, which is healing through bees. This is another cause that we need to rally behind. Well, bee products and bees in different shapes and forms. So now, what's happening is that apitherapy is proving to be very popular and very important in as far as the health of the people are concerned. And there is an association of apitherapy which is in the process of being registered. And one of the reasons why Lawctivism Institute and Alliance have decided to back up this initiative is because not only does it address the bees from a perspective where they give us health, but also from the protection of the bees themselves. Because there is a decline in the bee population. The decline partly due to electromagnetic fields, the decline partly due to the GMOs, where the bees are not getting natural pollen anymore and now are being compromised in as far as the bees are concerned. We need to take a stand and be able to protect those bees. As we protect the bees, we protect ourselves. So it is absolutely critical that within the context of Lawctivism, we identify meaningful causes that will take us forward as humanity. And the Institute of Lawctivism and the Alliance of Lawctivists has proudly entered into an MOU with one of the most outstanding health centers that I have come across, anywhere that I have lived, any country that I have been. And this particular center, even during the days of COVID and during the days of jabbing, had some people secretly going there to go and detox on the jab. And they have stood strong. They have ensured that as much as possible, the aspect pertaining to the protection of health is not compromised. The relationship between nature and healing is absolutely centralized, where everything is basically referenced from a position of how do we encourage an environment within the system that therefore allows the body to begin to heal itself. And one of the things I have learned is that medication should not be for purposes of trying to heal. Medication should be for purposes of enabling the body to fight for itself, enabling the body to begin to heal itself. That center that I'm referring to is called the Life Shine Wellness Center. Life Shine is basically true to its name. That is where life shines. That is where you realize that we have hope. And the main symbol of life shine is the sunflower. It was interesting to me to learn that more than the sunflower being attractive to bees, it is one of the best plants that God created for purifying the air. All of us should have sunflowers somewhere planted in our gardens. It's a very critical part of who we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for turning out for this launch. I sincerely apologize for the techno side of the things. But then again, in as much as I apologize, I generally ensure that I tell people that I was born before the computer. So I cannot expect now this thing that was born after me to perform at my level. So I had to come down to the computer's level and see how I play around with that particular space. Thank you so much. Since we've done this on Zoom, I'll open it up for a conversation. If anyone wants to ask a question, wants to make a contribution, please feel free to engage. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. This is what this whole thing is about. This is about us coming to a point where iron sharpens iron, where we see how exactly we penetrate these spaces. But definitely, like I say, for those people who may be interested in taking this further, our email address is admin@lawctivismalliance.org. Just send an email there whether you want to get more information on the causes that I've spoken about, or you want to come on to the Lawctivism course, or you want to learn more about what the Institute is about, or what the Alliance is about, or you want to make a contribution towards the whole exercise, whatever the nature of that contribution is. Everyone is most welcome. This is a space where humanity will find expression of where we are going as humans. This is a space where we should begin to protect Africa. This is a space where Africa will stand up for humanity as a whole. So thank you very much. I see there are some charts. Let me open the charts and see what is there. But if anyone would like to contribute by maybe saying what they would love to say, please feel free to come in and say that. I see that Mr. Joseph Kutse has posted something talking to the concerning story of Astral and the 4G and 5G issues, which will undermine our health and the health of our kingdoms. And definitely, it's Astral that has been given the, I don't know whether they even went to tender or whether they were just given for reasons that we have never yet understood as to how it happened, but we know that they are the ones now who have the mandate to jab chickens across the country, and it is necessary. There is a post which, again, I'll have to put it on WhatsApp. I'm very careful to say we put it on Facebook or anything, or YouTube, which identifies all the entities that fall under astral or under the influence of astral, or where they basically supply their chickens. For as long as they are starting this process with their chickens, I think it will be necessary for us to find a platform where we boycott these particular places, so they will understand that definitely we are not interested in what they are bringing out. And then, thank you, Sabelo. Sarah Analog Reality. That's me, Mr. K again, and then Shirley. Thank you, Sabelo. And then Sandile says, when are we having another meeting, and how often in a month will we have meetings? Hey, that's a difficult one, to the extent that today was not supposed to be a meeting. It's just because there were these techno challenges. But then what I've also learned, once you have a desire to achieve something, nothing is going to stop you. But we will see, because we are in conversation with LifeShine to ensure that some of our sessions, we will have them at LifeShine, and those will and more likely be the live sessions. We have not concluded on that yet. In principle, that is where we are. So if we do have meetings of this nature, there will be live meetings which will be broadcast from LiveShine. But in between the meetings that we do in collaboration with LiveShine, there will be posts. I'll be sending out posts on a regular basis, and I'll be interviewing some people. And the idea is that, especially where the issues pertaining to the World Health Organization are concerned, we will be having regular participation by one of the fundis in the world when it comes to understanding the issues of the World Health Organization. We are still negotiating and talking to how we will make it work with this particular gentleman, but that is one of the ideas. And then, Christoph, thanks for being in our court as our Lawctivist. Thank you so much, my brother. And then, Jenny, Priceless Sabelo, thank you very much. Carol Bridell, together we are strong. You're special, Sabelo. Thank you for your hard work. I'm most honored and humbled for those kind words, Carol. And then Christoph, happy to testify about the terrible difference of living in a 5G EMF world. You're very welcome, Christoph. You can definitely do that, Chris. I'll just read out, finish these messages, and then please feel free to open your mic and share. And then we've got CISA. How much does hate mentality affect the progress of law activism and the surrender of self-will? That's a critical question, in the sense that the reason why they were able to get away with it in as far as COVID was concerned was because of herd mentality. But the reason why now they are struggling to push that agenda, the Minister of Health in South Africa for the past 2 or so months has been saying, oh my goodness, we're hitting another COVID. Oh, people must begin masking up and social distancing. Oh, and please consider those we need to vaccinate. No one is interested. So now we have a situation where the head mentality that we are working with is a head mentality that is begin to play in a positive manner, in the sense that the people have seen the lies and the people have seen how some of these things were exaggerated. Because one thing that I would like to emphasize is that we are not anti-health. We are not anti anyone. we are pro-health, we are pro-sovereignty. And because we are pro-health and we are pro-sovereignty and we are pro-humanity, it means we will not allow ourselves to bow down and be told what to do where we see that what we are being told is actually not the right thing to do. So I would say that herd mentality generally, especially where it becomes a big issue, is within the context of politics. Herd mentality within politics is one of the most difficult areas to get around because people believe in their political parties, believe in the party colors, believe in the party leader, and because they believe so much in this individual or in this structure, they are not prepared to think outside that particular space and therefore think for themselves. And unfortunately, when we went to court against the Minister of Health on the amendments to the national health regulations in South Africa, some people were basically perceiving this as us challenging the ANC. And say, no, we're not challenging the ANC as a party, but we're challenging the government for playing games with people's lives. And in actual fact, that case has not yet ended. We still managed to stop them from passing these laws, which were going to see government having the authority to lock people up on the basis that people are said to be sick or they've been exposed to someone sick or they've been suspected of being sick, particularly with the so-called communicable diseases. And we have managed to stop that going on, but we anticipate that in the near future, we'll probably be back in court to argue the second leg of that particular case because our argument now is that at the time, we were arguing on the basis that government had not given the people enough time for public participation in line with the National Health Act. But we realized that if we are given that time and it lapses, government will now be at liberty to do what they want. So we went on and challenged the fact that there are 11 official languages and other languages, including the languages of the Khoi and the San, the Braille, the blind people, the totally illiterate. Where have they been consulted? So we are now in court on the basis that before government can push this thing through, we want them, we want the Minister of Health, we want the DG, we want those officials to call public imbizos and call us and tell us that this is what we are planning for you. This is what we want to. The reason why they don't want public participation is because they don't want people to know the nefarious agenda. So that is another fight that we are busy with right now. So then there is Shalom Lebu. Thank you, Advocate Sabelo, for the briefing. You certainly highlighted a few issues that are of interest from measuring full public participation and education. I'm concerned about courts not even having enough interpreters to help public members during daily court sessions. Yes, that is an issue. That is a real issue because you find that some people, the cases just keep being postponed and postponed, especially for those who are in custody. That is where it becomes really sad. They are in custody, and being in custody, the cases are postponed because there's no interpreter in court. And they get stuck simply because there's no one to interpret. So that is a reality that we need to be speaking to. And Chris comes in again and says, we'll join you for the live meeting by Sunflower Live Shine. Thanks. Yeah, definitely, my brother. Do join. We need that. We need that. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda from Cosmo LTE. This is very concerning on both fronts, the bee life and our health. We are definitely pro the all-natural lifestyle. Thank you, Cosmo. Well, that is great to hear. We need such concern, but then as we take this concern up, our concern is not informed by being the armchair politicians and the armchair analysts, let's take that concern and put positive energy into it. Because one of the things about Lawctivism
Thank you,
is
Sabelo.
about responsible channeling of our energy. It's about responsible protest. It's about responsible changing of the law. We do not support burning and looting. We are totally against burning and looting because burning and looting sets us back instead of taking us forward. Why should we burn and we loot and then next thing we have to start afresh? But we are saying, let's go and show forth our force. If we have to go and march on the street, we will march on the street. If we have to go into parliament and let them know that we are here and this is what we are saying, this is what we are doing, we will do so. If it means going to court and arguing these cases, we will do so. If it means drafting new laws, we will do so. Challenging the laws that are not in the interest of the people, we will do so. And that is how it is. Zodwa Dube, my people die because of lack of knowledge. So says my highest authority. Thank you, Sibanda. Zala, thank you so much. Yes, you are absolutely correct. There's so much lack of knowledge out there. That is why we want to demystify this thing called education and instead instill proper knowledge which will begin to change people's realities. Education has been so overrated now, and it's high time that we realize that there really is little that has to be offered by education. Kindly share a bit on the public benefit on NHI. We'll be having a full session as regards NHI and its different implications. At this particular stage, I really don't have much that I can go deep into, but it's something that, since you've noted it as an issue that you love spoken to, we will research it and be able to talk to it. And yes, I know some people who will be able to speak authoritatively on that particular subject. And then we've got Huawei Nova Y62. I hope. Oh, Chief Principal Chief Mtombeni. Hey, Puti Kunjani. It's so nice that you are here. Thank you so much, Advocates Banda and my brother. We really appreciate you have such an important engagement, and we are looking forward to play our active role in this. It's more like a prophecy to us, the Royal House, because we've been talking about these health issues. Chief Mtombeni. One of the things that really warms my heart about your presence in this space is that we need to have the traditional leadership structures taking a position on a lot of these things. We need to have the traditional leadership structures exercise their authority, exercise their rightful manifestation of where exactly they should be in as far as the people are concerned. My brother, thank you so much. Now we'll engage further and see how we synergize in taking this whole process forward. Thank you so much. And then Naven Pillay. Hey, my brother, this gentleman here called Naven Pillay, I've been talking about cases that we're doing and the case with the Minister of Home Affairs, the Minister of Health. He is my instructing attorney. We've traveled a long way with Naven for the love of the people. Just like Ibrahim Traore was asked in an interview, are you not afraid for your life? Why do you carry on doing this? Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you antagonize the system? He said, it's for the love of the people. And definitely, one of the reasons why I can honestly lift my hand up and say I'm doing what I'm doing is for the love of Africa, is for the love of humanity. We need to ensure that we push this forward. Naven says, congrats, my brother. You are an inspiration and blessing in our lives and united. And we can stop unjustness with the help of our Creator. One love, my brother. Thank you so much. And then, Chief, yeah, thank you. Thank you. We are for each other.
Yeah, you, Fabio.
Abantu ngabantu ngomuntu. Pete, thank you so much. Awesome, Sabelo. Lifeshine is honored to be walking the path with you, South Africa and the African continent. We salute you and will keep you healthy and strong on your courageous journey, your Lifeshine family. Ah, Pete, thank you so much for those kind words. And not only are you keeping me healthy, you're keeping the family healthy. And we really, really appreciate Lifeshine. I don't know where would we be health-wise without Lifeshine. Yes, we are family. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to open their mic and say something, oh, there's my sister there, my cousin Virginia. Sabo is Virginia. I have been really enlightened. I salute Sunshine. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Before we close, I'll just open the floor. If anyone wants to have a word or two, please feel free.
Greetings. I don't know if I can take an opportunity.
Please do, my brother. Please do. Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, so I think the reason the whole world is looking for a Messiah, all the religious organizations are looking for a Messiah. It's because they actually are longing. This is what they want, actually. They're looking for a leader that will ensure justice and righteousness. So those two things, they are looking, they thinking it comes with the hero, the Messiah. But actually, the lesson here is, if you go back to King David was chosen, and he goes down probably as the most celebrated king in history, in all of religious circles. David is the prominent king. Because of that, the heir of his throne is the Messiah. But what was special about David? He was a shepherd king. That means he in his heart, he loved the sheep, that if a bear comes or a lion comes, he would stand in between the sheep and the lion. He would, in other words, he would not spare his life on demand to defend the sheep. And I think this is what triggered him to jump in the ring with Goliath as a small boy, as a shepherd boy. He didn't hesitate to jump in there because he is just, that's the nature in his DNA, that when he sees an injustice, it rises something inside of him that he can't sit down. You see, today we have so much injustice in the world simply because the right people or the people sit quiet, mute, do nothing. Then, like now, we are witnessing the word commit atrocity. People are dying, both in Ukraine and Russia, and in Palestine and Israel, in India, Pakistan, in Congo, DRC, in Sudan. People benefit from conflict. People are making money from war. In fact, the biggest industries that have made money, like now, if you talk about US GDP, it's on the basis of 4 industries. The biggest is the military. And the second one is, they call it fire sector. So finance, insurance, and real estate. But why is that the case? It's because they go demolish the world. World War I, World War II, demolishes properties. Then they jump in and offer loans to rebuild. And then, the rest is, it makes a good, healthy property portfolio. That's why US wants to rebuild Gaza as well, and then go also to Ukraine. After they demolish it, I want rare earth minerals so that now I come in and take. So that is the nature. But the third is pharmaceutical. So the third industry that makes the GDP of the US today is pharmaceuticals. In the same, strand, it goes there. You create the problem, your own IP, you research on warfare things or agents, you release them, and you provide a vaccine, a solution. So it goes for animals as well. If you talk about bird flu, talk about AIDS and ARV drugs, you talk about even cancer, it's on the tactics of how we farm and produce. I mean, who's all behind these things? It's them. They are building things in labs. They create problems. Even tobacco industry. Think about tobacco industry. It built all a lot of economies. But this stuff, why are you making everybody smoke? Women smoke, everybody smoking, but it causes cancer. It's because you also want to benefit in solving the cancer medication, and so you create problems. You give them the Coca-Cola industry, you give them McDonald's, you give them KFC, you give them this junk, all of these things. Then they are sick. Then you come up with the solution for pills. That's the pharma industry. That's how it is set in place. Well, the last one is the technology. That's their fourth sector. But even then, it's fluff. So in reality, we are looking for you, my king. Every generation has its own Messiah, its own David, its own Daniel. So you are the one now in this season when you rise up. So we appreciate that. Bigs up and grand rising.
My brother, thank you so much for those kind words and the big boots that you're asking me to fit into. I think the most important thing is that we need to move together. We need to rise together. Like I've been so very emphatic about us consolidating Africa. It's absolutely critical that as we consolidate Africa, we all play our roles. And you are one of the people that I'll be interviewing one of these days so that you can share about the bank. So I thank you. We move strong in our different spaces. Um, I really appreciate those kind words, my brother. I'm very humbled. I'm actually very, very humbled by all the different messages as well. I see a new message is coming from Shal Benny. Thank you, Sabelo. As always, you never fail to deliver. Thank you and Godspeed. We pray for your safety. Stay strong and do take care. Thank you so much, Shal. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that, my brother. You have stood with me for many, many years now. Through the difficult times, through the good times, you've always been there. I really, really respect that and honor that. Thank you so much. And then Johan Reinders, my concern are oblivious, not aware of being taken advantage of. Yeah, no, definitely we can't allow ourselves to be taken advantage of. Brother Glenroy, Secretary Global African Congress, thank you so much. I see that you have to go. We really appreciate that. And we work together with Brother Glenroy. I'm coordinating the Southern African region in as far as the Global African Congress is concerned. And there is a message again from Chris. We want to support you in bringing powerful medicines from the hives of the people into every community. Oh, beautiful, my brother. Let's definitely make that happen. Let's definitely push that to happen. I'm with you all the way on that, definitely. And then Melissa, I've sent you a message, which I don't think you have seen. Melissa is a colleague, a very cherished colleague from Kenya. Would you like to say a word or two about Saba Saba? Can't hear you, Melissa. I see you have unmuted, but we can't hear you. Melissa is also a lawyer and very much into activism in Kenya. And we playing around and toying around with the possibility of some collaboration or partnership of sorts between their organization and the International Alliance of Lawctivists. Somehow her mic opens, but we cannot hear her. So I think we will close at this particular stage unless if there is someone. Oh, there is Melissa. I'm not sure what's happening there. It's most unfortunate. I would have loved for Melissa to talk to us a bit about Saba, which I mentioned earlier, which was the 1990 uprising where lawyers and activists pushed for constitutional changes in Kenya. But I think we will close at this particular juncture. We will be interviewing Melissa as we go along. She is one of our go-to people in sharing the realities of what's going on the continent and how we can advance ourselves as a people. I would like to thank you so very much for tuning in. And again, I apologize for my techno challenges, but one thing I can guarantee you is that I am going to learn. I am going to make it a point that I master this technology thing. Melissa, I sent a message on chat and says, all I can say is I salute you in your movement and pray for peace in Kenya and an end to normalization of violence. Thanks for this session. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you.
Bless you, lady.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bless
Okay,
you.
good night, everyone. We'll see you. We'll be posting regularly. And like I said, the email address is admin@lawctivismalliance.org.
Good night, Inside.
Good night,
Good
Siswe.
night.
Thank you so much. Good night.
My time
Thank
was
you.
up. I'm meditating now.
Thank you so much, Siswe. Okay, thank you.
Sabelo. Thanks
Good
so
night.
much.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, bro. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.